With me here this morning, I'm joined by Suresh Withana from Harmony Capital, the advisors to Adamas Finance Asia. Suresh, good to see you.
Great to see you, Andrew, again. Thank you.
Look, a few updates for us to catch up on. Firstly, the news this week, the bond issue. Just tell me a bit more about this.
So we just announced yesterday, actually, that we've issued a corporate bond for the first time out of Adamas Finance Asia. So we're very excited about that. It's part of a $10 million bond program, $10 million US bond program, but we've issued a first tranche of 1.9 million. Pays 12.5%. It's a 3-year bond. It's fully secured on our corporate assets, and we have no other debt. So it really is an interesting instrument by which we've raised some capital.
And who are some of the subscribers here?
We've disclosed that they're basically family offices out of the Middle East, actually, out of the United Arab Emirates. We've started to market more widely in terms of our investor base and stakeholder base, and so this is really, positive development for us.
And it's offering quite a attractive coupon?
Yeah, I mean, it's offering 12.5%, so it's obviously quite a rich bond. It's costly financing for us. But the reason the board made that decision was because, we're finding deals and opportunities in the SME space in Asia where we've already demonstrated investing at 17%, for example, 17.5%. So for us, we have positive carry or, profitability, even if we invest that money, which is quite costly to us.
And speaking of deals, tell me about this recent investment in ICG.
Well, it's also part of the program of us continuing to grow our portfolio and to generate income. So ICG is a property developer that we actually lent some money to earlier. We have a secured senior loan with them. We've gotten to know them very well. They're doing some very interesting things in Niseko, on the island of Hokkaido in Japan, in one of the leading ski resorts in the world, actually. So we've announced an acquisition of a 40% stake in a portfolio of residential luxury villas that they're developing. These are going to be income producing assets. There's a guaranteed yield on that investment of ours. And the really interesting angle, which I'm most excited about, is that we didn't pay any cash for this investment. So one of the benefits I don't think a lot of people appreciate of being listed is we have a second currency. We have our shares. So we actually issued shares to buy the shares essentially in that vehicle. And we issued those shares at a very significant premium to our market price, which further underpins certainly ICG's belief that our portfolio is very robust and we're very undervalued at the moment. So
what return would you expect from this investment?
Well, there are two elements to it. Firstly, there is the income component of it. There's a guaranteed yield of 6% on our investment as a minimum. And then over time, I would hope that the property portfolio, the underlying property portfolio, will actually increase in value as well, because there's a significant amount of demand in Niseko, as we've talked about before. For example, Chinese tourists have discovered Japan and have discovered skiing and have discovered winter sports, and so it's really sort of driving demand. So property prices have continued to rise. Our expectation is that will continue, and hopefully there'll be some capital gain for us as well.
Would you like to be doing more in the hospitality space?
Absolutely. I mean, hospitality is a significant sector in which we see a lot of opportunities. I've mentioned healthcare before and talked about it ad nauseum, but actually hospitality is an interesting space as well, because there's so many opportunities given that the rising middle class in Asia, and particularly countries like China and India, where there's far more tourists outbound tourists, are starting to travel intra-regionally. So, Japan is not expecting people to come from the US, they're expecting people to come from China, which is the biggest market. So that drives the demand for hospitality assets, and ICG is very well positioned for something like that.
And so how's the pipeline looking as far as other investments?
It's very, very healthy. We have always been positioned, as we've discussed before, as I think we're one of the only London-listed vehicles that focus on that Asian SME space. Last time I checked, the $2.7 trillion funding gap for SMEs hasn't gotten any smaller. So the opportunities are just very, very significant. So we see opportunities almost on a weekly basis for SMEs looking to raise money. And the discipline that we have to apply is to weed out the ones that don't really fit our criteria as part of our risk management process. So we have a very healthy pipeline across a number of sectors, across a number of countries. We do a lot of detailed due diligence, so we take our time. We don't rush into deals, as you've probably noticed. My expectation is that we should be hopefully making some announcements in relation to new investments shortly, because we're very, very busy assessing those opportunities.
Do you feel like you're beginning to appear on investors' radars?
Yes, I mean, it's interesting. I think we were talking a few minutes ago. we don't really like to promote things when there's nothing to say. I personally don't like to do that. So perhaps, social media is a platform we've used sparingly. We're increasingly using it because we have a lot to say with announcements like this, discussions like this. So we're starting to appear on people's radar. Anecdotally, we're not trying to always raise money like a lot of companies are on the AIM market, but we like to get people to get to know us and look at our stock, for example, which is at a significant discount. Our stock is relatively liquid, so we want people to be interested and buy our stock if they think it's a good opportunity for them. And part of that is just getting the story out there. So yes, we're starting to engage a lot more now.
While I've got you, what's the latest as far as your future metal holdings investment?
So yes, as you know, that's a significant part of our portfolio. It's over 40% of our net asset value. We've announced in the past that we intend to bring that asset back online. It's a dolomite quarry in China. The good news is we announced a very detailed RNS recently about the sort of production values, our costs of production, our expected, hopefully, selling prices for our products pursuant to an independent market study. So all that's in the public domain now. And my expectation is that at the end of this month, we'll provide another operational update. As I sit here today, I think we're still very confident that we can get that asset operating this year as we've promised.
And as just back to what we were saying, as Adamas continues to evolve, paying a dividend would open you up to a whole new pool of investors. Is that something that you're still considering?
It's the thing that I probably wake up every day thinking about. I'm sure our chairman does the same thing, as does our board, because we have said for a long time that we intend to become a dividend-paying vehicle, so providing capital gain and income from this diverse portfolio of Asian SME investments. And recently, in the interim results for 2019, we had announced that we had generated about $1.25 million of income from our portfolio, whereas in the same period in 2018, we'd generated almost zero. So you can see the ramp up in income starting to come through as we reposition the portfolio. Again, without giving any sort of time frame, my expectation is that we're well on the path to becoming a dividend-paying vehicle, and ultimately it's up to the board as to when they would like to make that announcement. But we're working tirelessly to get the company to that stage.
Good to see you. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Enjoyed it.